The person God has prepared for you may not be the person you would have chosen for yourself. This is a hard truth to swallow in an age obsessed with preference, compatibility tests, and curated ideals of love. We have been conditioned to believe that love is a matter of personal fulfillment, a well-tailored garment that should fit us perfectly and flatter us endlessly. Yet the strange logic of heaven seems to work in the opposite direction. It fits us to the garment and not the garment to us. That is why, when the moment comes, you must be prepared to be shocked. The shock is not a punishment, nor is it evidence of some cosmic miscalculation. Rather, it is the natural consequence of seeing reality break through the fog of fantasy. Most of us go through life constructing elaborate images of the sort of person we think we deserve. We envision someone who will affirm our strengths, indulge our quirks, and conveniently leave our weaknesses untouched. But if we are honest, such a union would be a fragile and sterile thing. Real love, the kind that echoes eternity, does not merely affirm, it transforms. And so the spouse, prepared for you by God, will be fashioned not primarily to please you, but to complete in you the work He has already begun. This is why the person may not seem to fit at first. They may not share all your interests. They may challenge opinions you've long held unexamined. They may, by their very presence, awaken in you qualities you had left dormant or deliberately buried. In other words, they will be an instrument of grace. And grace rarely arrives in a form we would have scripted for ourselves. When you encounter this person, expect to be startled by how much they are not what you anticipated, and yet how deeply they resonate with the parts of your soul you had not known how to name. The shock will not be one of revulsion, but of recognition, the quiet, disconcerting awareness that here is someone through whom God intends to change you. And this is love's highest function, not to crown your present self, but to usher you into your truest self. But let us not fall into the error of imagining this prepared spouse will be perfect, or that you will be, either. The preparation at work here is not a preparation for a flawless life together. Rather, it is the preparation of two hearts made ready to journey through imperfections with patience and with grace. You will frustrate each other, you will misunderstand each other, and yet through these daily trials, the divine alchemy of marriage will shape you both into vessels capable of deeper love, humility, and joy. Many expect that if God is preparing someone for them, the encounter will be wrapped in thunder and lightning, a dramatic sign of destiny. But more often than not, providence works through quieter means. The one prepared for you may cross your path in the most ordinary of circumstances, a passing introduction, a chance conversation, an unexpected friendship. Be alert, then, not to the spectacle, but to the still, small stirrings within your heart that whisper of something greater unfolding. And so when the moment comes, embrace the shock. It is the first sign that you are stepping beyond your own small dreams and into the vast, wild landscape of God's design. The one He has prepared for you will not be a mirror, but a companion for the road, someone with whom you will build not a perfect life, but a beautiful one. A life shaped not by the pursuit of fleeting happiness, but by the long, slow work of becoming holy. And in this becoming you will discover joy deeper than any you could have dreamed. If you'd like, I can expand another keynote or write the entire full speech using this tone. Just say the word. Here is an expanded version of 2 keynotes, blended naturally into about 600 words, written in the same style without headings as you requested. The person God prepares for you will not merely delight you, they will refine you. This is not a message that fits comfortably into modern visions of love, where the heart's desires are treated as the highest authority and marriage is often viewed as the final prize for self-fulfillment. But if one begins instead with the understanding that we are creatures still in the process of becoming, that we are being shaped toward a purpose far beyond what we can now see, then it follows naturally that the one we are meant to marry is chosen not to soothe our flaws, but to sanctify them. We may imagine that this prepared person will fit seamlessly into our lives, that they will arrive already attuned to all that we find agreeable and will, without friction, complete us. Yet if this were so, what would be the point of the union? Marriage is not the closing scene of a romance, but the opening act of a great work of transformation, and that work will require a companion. Not a clone of ourselves, not a fantasy we have projected outward, but another soul, shaped differently by grace, whose presence will be both a comfort and a challenge. In their company, we will encounter both our deepest joys and our deepest faults, often in the same moment. This is why so many are shocked when they meet the one God has prepared. The shock comes not only from the unexpected nature of the person themselves, but from the realization that the love growing between you is of an entirely different substance than what you had previously pursued. It is not driven by surface-level compatibility, nor is it propped up by fleeting passions. Rather, it arises from a strange and humbling sense of being summoned together by something greater than either of you could have contrived. You may even feel at first that this is not what you wanted, and yet, over time, you will see that it is precisely what you needed. Do not be surprised if this person unsettles your carefully ordered view of life. They may hold convictions that force you to reevaluate your own. They may have wounds that call forth patience and compassion from you in ways you had not practiced before. They may reveal in you both capacities for love and shadows of selfishness that you did not suspect. All this is part of the refining work of marriage. The one prepared for you is not sent to perfect you, but to walk with you as both of you are perfected through the shared rhythms of ordinary days. And in all of this, remember that the ways of God are seldom flashy or dramatic. We often look for lightning strikes and grand signs, imagining that the arrival of our spouse will be accompanied by unmistakable fanfare. But the kingdom delights in the ordinary. The one prepared for you may enter your life quietly, without spectacle, appearing first as a friend, a colleague, even a stranger, whose significance you do not immediately recognize. Only with time, and with the slow unfolding of trust, will the deeper purpose of this relationship become clear. When it does, when the initial shock gives way to a growing certainty, you will find that love, rooted in divine intention, has a peculiar strength. It will not depend on circumstances or emotions alone, but will endure through the trials that refine both of you, and in the end you will see that the greatest joy lies not in having your preferences fulfilled, but in becoming, together, the kind of people God dreamed you could be. The person prepared for you is not the prize of your choosing, but the partner of your becoming. And in that truth lies the deepest mystery of love. If you want, I can continue with the other keynotes in this tone, or compose the entire full-length speech for delivery. Just tell me how you'd like it shaped. More literary, more sermonic, more conversational. Here is an expanded version weaving 3 keynotes. Love grows through surrender, shock as gateway to awakening, providence works through the ordinary. In about 600 words, same tone, no headings. The love that is prepared for you will grow not through possession, but through surrender. This is a truth easily missed in a culture where love is often spoken of as something to be captured or earned, as if the right combination of charm or effort might secure it. But love that is born of God is never seized, it is always received. It arrives as an unlooked-for grace, and it flourishes only when both hearts yield, not merely to each other, but to the greater will that has joined them. This surrender is not weakness. It is the soil in which the strongest love takes root. It begins with the willingness to let go of the ideals we have so carefully constructed. Most people enter the search for a spouse with a silent list of demands, preferences about appearance, temperament, background, shared interests. There is nothing wrong with desiring harmony, but when such preferences harden into non-negotiable expectations, they can blind us to the gift that is truly being offered. Often, the person prepared for us will confound these lists. They will surprise us, perhaps even unsettle us. And in that unsettling, there is hidden mercy. For what God offers is not the fulfillment of our lesser dreams, but the opening of a door to a deeper joy. Expect to be shocked. The very fact that you feel disoriented when confronted with this person may be the first true sign of divine design, not because they are unlikable or unsuitable, but because they expose how small your vision of love had been. Love that is destined will not flatter the ego, it will call you beyond yourself. You may find yourself drawn in ways that bypass reason, sensing that something ancient and wise is at work beneath the surface of your meeting. The shock is not a flaw in the plan, it is a holy jolt, awakening you to a reality you would not have dared to imagine. This is why so many miss the person prepared for them. They resist the shock. They retreat to the comfort of the familiar, preferring what is safe and known. But love rooted in God will not always feel safe. It is an adventure, a forging. The heart must learn to trust that the author of your story knows better than you what the next chapter should hold. And do not expect this chapter to begin with fanfare. The hand of providence often moves in the most ordinary ways. We look for signs and wonders, but more often it is through the unnoticed moments that the truest paths are laid. The one prepared for you may enter your life through casual acquaintance, through shared labor, through a simple word spoken at just the right time. You may not see their significance at first. Indeed, God delights in disguising His greatest works in the garments of the everyday. Only in retrospect do we glimpse the intricate weaving of grace that brought two lives together. So walk through life with open eyes and an open heart. Do not cling too tightly to your own plans, nor dismiss what seems too humble to be significant. When the shock comes, when your heart stirs in ways you cannot explain, pause and listen. It may be that the ordinary face before you carries within it the extraordinary gift you have been prepared to receive. And if you surrender to this love, not trying to control it but allowing it to unfold in God's time, you will find that it draws you into a life richer and more luminous than any you could have written for yourself. If you'd like, I can keep expanding the next keynotes too. Just say if you want me to proceed with the next one. Here is an expanded version weaving 4 keynotes. Divine appointments defy expectations. Marriage is for holiness, not happiness. Love grows through surrender. Shock is gateway to awakening. In about 600 words, in the same tone and without headings. The one God has prepared for you will likely arrive as a surprise. This is the first truth you must embrace if you are to recognize them. We are all tempted to craft expectations about who our spouse should be, expectations drawn from personal longing, cultural ideals, and the images of love we have absorbed since childhood. But divine appointments do not conform to human blueprints. They answer a greater design, one that considers not only who you are now, but who you are meant to become. It is no small thing to relinquish these expectations. We cling to them because they offer a sense of control in matters of the heart. Yet if we hold too tightly to our imagined ideal, we risk missing the gift that is actually being offered. The person prepared for you may not match the portrait you have painted in your mind. They may challenge you, stretch you, and invite you into a way of loving far deeper and more demanding than you anticipate. In this, you will come to understand that the purpose of marriage is not to make you happy, but to make you holy. This too runs against the grain of our culture. We are taught to view marriage as a means to personal satisfaction, a partnership that should always affirm, never disrupt. But love that exists only to please is shallow and brittle. The love that endures, the love that sanctifies, is forged through surrender. It asks of you a continual yielding, first to God's will, and then to the needs and growth of your spouse. In this surrender, you will discover that joy runs deeper than happiness, and that holiness is the truest fulfillment. Such love is not about finding the person who completes you, but about becoming, together, the people God intended. The one prepared for you will not arrive as a finished masterpiece, nor will you be one. You will each carry wounds, habits, and blind spots into the marriage. It is precisely through the daily work of loving and forgiving, of offering grace and receiving it, that you will both be refined. This work is not always pleasant. At times it will feel like a fire, but it is in the fire that gold is purified. And do not be surprised if the first encounter with this person brings a kind of shock. Many expect to feel instant certainty or perfect compatibility, but more often the initial meeting stirs something deeper and more unsettling, an awareness that this is not what you expected, and yet something within you is being called to attention. The shock is not a sign to flee, it is an invitation to wake up, to let go of shallow expectations, and open yourself to the profound work that God intends to do in and through this union. This awakening is necessary, because without it, you will fall into the trap of seeking comfort over transformation. But the love prepared for you will not leave you unchanged. It will confront your selfishness, expose your impatience, and call forth your courage. And in the very places where you feel most inadequate, you will discover grace sufficient for the journey. So do not be dismayed if the person God brings into your life does not look like the fulfillment of your dreams. Do not recoil from the shock of recognizing a love that is deeper, harder, and more glorious than you had imagined. Embrace the calling to holiness over happiness, for in doing so you will find a joy that no circumstance can diminish, a joy rooted not in fleeting pleasure, but in the eternal purposes of God. If you'd like, I can expand the final keynote next in this same style to complete the full set. Just say the word. Here is an expanded version weaving all 5 keynotes into about 600 words, in the same tone and without headings, as you requested. The one prepared for you will almost certainly not be what you expect. This is no failure of divine planning, but a mark of it. We so often approach love with lists in hand, of qualities desired, virtues admired, flaws we think we can tolerate. Yet God, who sees beyond the surface and beyond time itself, prepares a spouse not to suit the narrow corridors of our imagination, but to draw us out into the wide spaces of His design. The person who is prepared for you will be sent not because they fulfill your fantasies, but because they will help fulfill God's purposes in you. Marriage, after all, is not given primarily to make us happy, though happiness may come. It is given to make us holy, and holiness is not a comfortable process. It demands change, growth, the rubbing away of pride and selfishness. The person prepared for you will be a fellow pilgrim in this work. They will comfort you and also confront you. They will mirror both the best and the worst in you, not to shame you, but to refine you. Through their companionship, you will learn to love not as an instinct or fleeting feeling, but as an act of will and worship. And in loving them, you will be shaped into one who can love God and others more fully. This is why true love grows not through possession, but through surrender. The world teaches us to grasp, to claim another as mine, but in the divine economy, love is never something to be seized. It is something to be given and given again each day. The one prepared for you is not your prize. They are your partner in surrender. Together you will learn to yield your desires, your plans, your very selves to the greater work of grace that marriage is meant to accomplish. The more you surrender, the more room there is for love to grow, not as a brittle transaction, but as a living reflection of God's love for His people. And do not be surprised if when this person appears you are shocked. Many expect love to arrive softly, affirming every assumption they already hold. But love prepared by God will often unsettle you first. The shock is not a sign that something is wrong. It is the first breath of awakening. It tears away illusions and stirs the soul to life. You may feel drawn to this person in ways that defy explanation, or you may resist them at first precisely because they do not fit the mold you had crafted. Do not flee from this disorientation. It is often the mark of an encounter with something real, something larger than yourself. And remember, the greatest works of providence unfold through ordinary means. The spouse prepared for you may not be revealed through visions or dramatic signs. More likely, they will cross your path in the midst of daily life, through shared work, through friendship, through the simplest of moments. God delights in using the ordinary to accomplish the extraordinary. It is not the circumstances that will announce their significance, but the steady unfolding of love and grace through time. So be watchful. Do not overlook the humble beginnings from which great love can grow. When that love comes, when the shock fades into clarity and the surrender deepens into joy, you will find that what God has prepared is far richer than anything you could have planned. You will not have found a perfect person, but a chosen companion. Together you will walk the long road of becoming, hand in hand with grace, and in the midst of that holy labor, you will discover a joy not born of getting what you wanted, but of receiving what you truly needed. If you'd like, I can also compose the entire speech, seamlessly structured for actual delivery, using this same tone and style. Just say if you'd like me to.